Hi, Pastor Nathan Decker with your hashtag Better Together devotion for today. Make sure you click like, share, subscribe, all those fun buttons below so that we can share the good news that we're doing, as well as make sure you're staying in contact with me in terms of through these videos. So this week, I'm focusing on Nathan's advice. That means you can take it or leave it, advice on parenting. And yesterday I talked about how we communicate with our children and how important that is. Today I want to talk about how we teach our children, especially about money. So when I was a kid, I don't know what possessed my parents to do this, but they had the wisdom or wherewithal that my father one day, probably without even consulting my mother, came to me and said, hey, would you like an allowance or would you like to earn money based on chores? And I thought about it, and this was a great choice that they offered me. And I thought about it and I said, I think I'll just do an allowance because then I don't have to worry about chores. And my dad said, well, that's a good choice. But you know what? I'm going to pay you less because you chose that way, because that's not how you're supposed to be. I remember this lesson because that's what a lot of times we do, is that we teach our children that they can get something for nothing in an allowance system. In other words, if we are paying our kids an allowance, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, especially if we also increase it every year that they get older, we're saying basically you deserve to earn money simply by breathing, simply because you exist. Now, you deserve love, you deserve a home, you deserve to have your needs met. I'm not so sure that an allowance is the best way to teach our children about handling finances. After all, we want our children to go on to become productive parts of this world, to go find ways to connect in our society and be a productive person within our society that contributes to the greater good of all humanity. And a part of that is through work. A part of that is through understanding the earning of work. One of the other lessons I learned, and someone else told me this and I used it and I think it was very, very true, is that when I had to go to work, and my son grabbed hold of my leg and said, no, don't go, Dad, don't go. I didn't say, oh, you're so right, son. I don't want to go to work. I didn't say that. Don't say that. Because you don't want to make work the enemy. You don't want to make work out to be something that is bad or the bad guy. Instead, you want to say something more along the lines of, I love you, son, and I want to be with you, and I do want to be with you after I get back from work, but I also want to work. I enjoy what I do, and work is a good thing. It helps provide for our family. Don't you like these things that we have, like a home and a house and things? That takes work, son. All of these are lessons that teach our children how to move forward and be better with our finances and with our money. And probably one of the most important lessons that I gave my children, that I feel like our society needs to learn as a whole, is that debt is not a good thing. That debt is never a good thing. That you should not have credit card debt that goes into huge numbers and things like that. In fact, in the Bible, it specifically says that we are called to owe no one anything except love for one another. This is Romans chapter 13, verse 8. It's one of my favorite verses about money. It says, owe no one anything except love for one another, because the one who loves one another has fulfilled the law, the instructions, the commandments. We're called to owe, yes, but the debt we're called to owe is the debt of love, not of finances. Teach your kids at age-appropriate levels these lessons on finances, how to earn, how to enjoy work, and more than that, how to not be in debt, but to instead be a person who can contribute and fund and love. All this will make us better together. Amen.